Good evening, everyone. It is 7 o'clock, and we're going to get started with our voice fusion session this evening. It is Get the Most from FreeToastHost workshop. This is an intermediate advanced session, and of course, even if you're not intermediate or advanced, feel free to stick around. You will pick something up, absolutely. I would like to introduce our speaker, Sue Brooks. Sue has been a Toastmaster since 2000 and has completed 3 Distinguished Toastmaster Awards, 2 in the traditional program and 1 in Pathways. She has held a variety of club officer and district officer leadership positions. Sue currently provides free Toast Host support in District 38 and serves as Area 32 Director in District 83. In tonight's interactive workshop, she will focus on intermediate and advanced topics, many of which were recommended by you. This follow-up workshop builds upon the training presented at the beginner session in the fall of 2024. Please help me in welcoming Sue Brooks.
Thank you for the warm welcome, Michelle. Few housekeeping rules as we get started. Since this is an interactive workshop, not just me talking to you, you may have questions during the course of the presentation. You may type your questions in the chat. Michelle's my Zoom master, and she will be monitoring the chat. You may raise your actual hand or your virtual hand using the reactions at the bottom of your screen. And at select intervals, we'll be pausing for the opportunity for you to ask any questions about the material that was presented. And Michelle had told us that the session will be recorded, and following today's presentation, it will be uploaded to the District 38 YouTube channel. So if you know anybody who was unable to make it tonight, who registered, they will receive the link. So let's get started. Some of the things that we're going to go over. We're going to talk about navigating the site, how to explore the admin panel, and tips for VPEs, those are the Vice President's Education, and other officers. These are some of the things that you have asked for, and they will be woven into the course of the presentation rather than 3 distinct sections. One of the clubs that Donna and I are in is Talk of Monmouth. This is an advanced Toastmasters club in District 83. One of the things that one person wrote in after the autumn session requested for me to share with you why it's important for clubs to have a number of agendas all at once. You could see by the drop down or the pop up, Donna, our Vice President Education in this club, has created agendas for the entire Toastmasters year. So you could see the last date is the last June meeting. This particular club meets on Tuesday and Thursday evenings. So Donna has made sure that there are agendas for all the meetings until the end of the year. Anybody have any idea why that's important?
People can sign up in advance.
So people could sign up in advance. Yes, Nikki, that's correct. So many people have things in mind, goals, personal and professional goals, and they know they can come to most of the meetings. So they said, you know what, I want to sign up to be a speaker at the first meeting in April, but not to hog all the agenda spots for speaking. Maybe I'll be a Toastmaster. So in this club, Donna has asked each of the members to sign up for 1 or more roles as a Toastmaster during the course of the entire year. So this gives you an opportunity to plan your dreams. It gives you an opportunity to figure out which roles you want to take. Speaking roles, table topics, Toastmaster, general evaluator, and you can go in and sign up for the roles for the meetings that you know you want to go to. If you have any more questions about the agendas and setting it up, we can talk about that later. So let's move on. Some of the things that you may or may not know is on the left navigation bar, you have an option to show or hide any of these default options. The one we chose to hide was the Toastmaster video. Everything else we wanted to have in the left nav bar. Next up. Many of you had asked about the administration or admin panel. Once you log in as an admin, there are choices from the drop-down that's highlighted at the top called website settings. And then within website settings, there are a number of panes where you can interact with the various content that's going on. Here we have basic settings where we have the opportunity to put in the club name and a little description where the leaders speak, and then a brief description about the club, the name, when we meet, and the fact that we are an online club via Zoom now. This was a decision the club made during COVID, and since we've expanded our geographical reach, so we are way beyond Talk of Monmouth. So we have people from all over who join us, and many states, not just different counties in New Jersey. So during tonight's discussion, we'll be going into several of these panels, and we're also going to be showing you some other settings with the drop-down. Here in Site Admin, further down on that same screen, you have an opportunity to enter keywords. Michelle and I were speaking about this prior to the beginning of tonight's session, and you can enter keywords. This is globally for the whole site rather than embedding metadata into information in various pictures. That's a different topic, but here's the place you could put keywords. So when people are searching public speaking, leadership, Toastmasters, we put our location, Monmouth County, Tinton Falls, but also online, because people want to know if you're an online club, a hybrid club, or an in-person club. We also have our website alias, and you can also put other information if you're using a custom domain. This would be the place to do it. Next up. There's more information about your site of the location. So you can provide the time zone that you're in, the format. There's different date formats, as well as the short date format and the long date format. These are things that we accepted as the defaults, but with your website, you might want to tweak it based on your personal preferences. Moving on. This would be the section of your home page where you can enter text and insert images. We recently were blessed with 2 new members, so we put a warm welcome for our 2 new members on the home page. You have a choice of various colors and fonts and styles, so you can adjust the text so there's some sort of hierarchy. Not everything has to be the same weight or the same font. And you may also insert pictures in this particular field. The next couple slides will show the progression vertically within this pane. You can see the progress bar here on the right. So with our next slide, you'll see the rest of it. So recently we had a special event with Cheryl Roush at the end of January, and she shared some information to help us learn how to promote our club. So we have that text block followed by some photos. Oh, look, there's me and there's Donna. And you can adjust the photos once they're uploaded so you can retain good proportion. What do I mean by good proportion? Sometimes when you upload a photo, people's faces are all squished like that, or worse, they're stretched out and you look 12 inches taller than you are. But manipulating the settings within the photo icon, which is in the second row, and there's a picture that looks like an old-fashioned computer. You can adjust the proportions so your photos look good. They give you instructions down here, the second line up from the bottom, showing that photo icon to upload the photos, and then you can manipulate it as needed. Moving on, let's talk more about your meeting. You want to provide information, and here would be a good spot to indicate if you are an in-person club, a hybrid club, or if you're online only. Since we're an advanced club, we have certain membership requirements. We would like to welcome members who have completed a CC or a competent communicator in the legacy program or Pathways Level 2 in their original or home club. We don't require that people have another club, but many do. And then we extend an invitation to people who aren't yet at level 2. They want to come and visit us prior to joining. And then again, our dates, the 2nd, 4th, and sometimes 5th Thursdays of every month, 7:30 Eastern. So in other words, we have a meeting coming up on Thursday. And we're currently meeting online via Zoom. And if you are meeting in person or hybrid, you may want to add maps. There's a section down here towards the end of this page. You can see by the progress bar on the far right. You're at the bottom of your page. You may add Google Maps to your site if you would like to provide that for people. This is currently blank for this club because we do not, but I wanted to share it with you in case this information is valuable to you. Any questions so far on any of the material that we've covered?
There are no questions in the chat.
Any hands raised?
I see none.
Okay, then we'll proceed. Thank you, Michelle. Next up, social links. One of the other pains in this section are for social links. So if your club has a Facebook page, this is legacy and it still says Twitter, although we know that's been renamed X, YouTube, LinkedIn, Flickr, and then there are some others. You may add the URLs here. These are links that your Vice President Public Relations will maintain. And one bit of advice is you need to get permission from attendees of your meetings before posting. I've seen many things on some social channels where I'm not sure the person received permission. So the global photo and video release forms are good. If you are the one who's snapping photos, like you might take a family photo, make sure you have your mouse type disclaimer information ready, letting people know to be in the picture. You can keep your cameras on and your smiles on. But if you do not want to be in the picture, you may turn your camera off. This way, we don't have people uploading photos for people who don't want their images shared. So please be respectful. moving on. Here's the spot for floater messages. What do I mean by floater messages? These are messages at the very top of your homepage. The ones that I've seen are a little yellow banner that have information about the next meeting or perhaps an inspirational message. These can be customized so you show your members one message and you show the general audience a different message if you choose. One of the things you will see here in this panel is that both of these fields for non-member and member are blank. The reason is people would post things that were time sensitive, but then they wouldn't go in and update them. So it's better to have no floater messages and not use the tool than to have something that is stale. Unless, of course, somebody wants to be on top of it and maintain these floater messages if they say something about a time or a date. As a user, to me, it's very frustrating to see outdated messaging in a floater message. So keep that in mind. But I did want to show you where these are in case you or other members of your club want to take advantage of the floater messages. Next, for admin, our administration manager for the entire website is Ian Gilson. I've blocked out her email, but this section here, administrator email, will be where it will appear. Underneath, there are fields for changing the administrator password and to confirm. Below that is a section on who gets notified about password resets. This is where it goes. So here is where you would place the name of the administrator for the website. It's up to the administrator to decide if he or she wants to share it with one or two other people. My recommendation is to keep the number of people who have access to the whole entire global site to a small audience. You don't want to have only one person know it, because if something happens to that person, then it takes a lot of effort to contact FreeToastHost and be able to get this particular section reset. So keep the audience for the global admin for the whole entire site to just a few people. Next up, we have access settings. So one person might know, or two people might know, how to get into the entire site. But what about the rest of the officers? FreeToastHost has built in to the access settings part of this pane which officers should handle various sections of the site. We have website settings, and in this particular club, it's the president, VPE, and VPPR. Allowed to access membership, VPE, VP membership, and treasurer. Email and contact forms, there's another 3. Custom web pages, you may want to add that to your site. There's another 3. File manager, we have 2 people here. 3 people for agenda settings and templates, and 1, we've selected the treasurer for the dues tool. FreeToastHost limits it to 3 people. We have the defaults on some of them, but we've customized it for some of the others. On the next screen, I'll show you some of the options that we've selected at Talk of Monmouth. Backing up, sorry about that. With this drop down and pop up, this is what it's going to look like. We have the various officer roles in your menu choices, And then the people who have high-level admin access can select or deselect the people who should be allowed partial access to the site. I have a funny story. One time I was a vice president membership in one of my clubs, and I was able to get to parts of the site based on the way the FreeToastHost site was set up. And then in another club, I had global access. So I was saying, well, how come I can do this in this club, but I can't do this in the other club? So somebody had to explain it to me. It depends on your role, and it depends on the level of access that you have to change things. So I hope that was helpful. So you can select who should have various parts of access to various pieces of the website. And in some cases, it may be restricted, or you may choose based on the person's Toastmasters role. And in other cases, the 7 officers will get together and have a discussion and say, I think the vice president public relations should have access to this piece because she knows what she's doing. She likes it. She's good at it. So you have a discussion and you figure out who should have access to the various parts of the site. One of the things that we know we enjoy in this particular club is that we all support each other. We cover for each other. If somebody can't be there, somebody will raise their hand and say, I'll cover for her. I can help out for another few months. So that's the way it works in this club. Any questions? Again, you can type something in the chat or you could raise your hand.
Farad has his hand up.
I'm sorry?
Farad.
Hi,
Farad.
Sue.
Hi, Farad.
You reminded me of something with the floater message.
Yes.
Where can I put themes of the meetings or word of the days? Because I've seen some clubs make a whole list of that.
Yes, excellent question. You can put the word of the day or the theme in the floater messages, but I'm going to go back several screens and show you a good place for that. Here, I'm going to go back to the very first screen. Here is a good place. This is the upcoming meeting that we have on Thursday. And you could see in blue, meeting theme, welcome spring. So this is not particular to the whole site, but this is particular to this meetings page. Does that help? You could put your themes there. What was the other thing that you were asking about? Word of the
Word
day.
of the day.
Word of the day. We could also put word of the day there. There's also a section, I don't have a screen snap of it right here, but at the very bottom, there is a section for notes. And the section for notes at the very bottom is another good place to put those things. So we like to put the theme up top. Word of the day, themes up top for each particular meeting page is a great spot. I hope that was helpful.
Yes, it was. Thank you, Sue.
You're quite welcome for it. Let me go back to the
And it
question.
looks like the chat is popping now.
Yeah, and Joyce has her hand up.
Okay.
Hi, Sue. How do you edit a specific agenda? Because we have templates for our Tuesday meeting, we have a template for our Saturday meeting. And then when I'm adding meetings to the
That's a
list,
fabulous.
I'm replicating a lot of them. I'm copying the format and stuff like that, and it's just the new date. But how are you putting in things like the theme is welcome spring or the word of the day? How would you edit that?
Okay. There are sections, when you have the pencil icon, I'm gonna go back to the front, but this is a two-part answer, Joyce. When you have the pencil icon available, meaning you have edit access to that particular meetings agenda. This is for the global, excuse me, for the global admins, for the VPEs, and for other role holders who were given access to go in and edit the agendas. You can do so when you see the pencil icon in the upper right. I have another screen a few slides later that will show you where we have different kinds of agendas and where you would choose them to go in and edit them. So,
I'll wait.
okay, good. Anybody else I can help with? And Joyce, if I don't answer your question fully, we can continue the conversation after, and we can open up agendas and tweak the little components. Okay?
Yes, Sue, in the chat, Donna asks, do you need admin access to manage agenda templates?
No, you don't have to have admin access, Donna. Your role as a VPE in this particular club allows you to do that because of how we set things up in our preferences here. This particular club, Talk a Monmouth, where you're the VPE, we have allowed the VPE to manipulate agendas. Where we go, agenda settings and templates. I'm going to go back one screen and that's you. So here, you have access to that, and so does the president and the secretary. So that would be Anne, you, and myself have access to that. So you don't need admin access, full admin access to edit your agendas because you as the VPE were given access to this in this access settings part of the site. That's a great question. Anyone else? Any other questions, Michelle?
There are no other questions.
Okay, great. And ladies and gentlemen, as we progress, I will indicate if I have a future slide with one of the topics. And as I said to Joyce, and this goes for Farah and Donna, if there's anything that you would like to go over in more detail, we can do that at a different session or a one-on-one or email or a phone call or a Zoom chat. And if there's enough requests, we can even do a whole entire other workshop. So let's move on. There's another piece of the site admin where people are notified if, for example, FreeToastHost has some messages for you, or if somebody sends admin logins from an unrecognized device. These are things that are built into FreeToastHost. You don't, except for the blue box at top, these are things that the owners and managers of FreeToastHost provide for us. You can select to receive these messages. You can select not to receive them. But if there are many or a few admins, you might not want to remove them until you're sure that every admin has seen it, if they care at all about it. Next, somebody was asking about agenda templates. Joyce, this one's for you. One of the things that we do in this particular club is we have our regular agendas. Joyce, you mentioned you have your Tuesday meetings, you have your Saturday meetings, I think you said it was. So these are what I
Yes.
would call our standard templates. Various people have uploaded them over the years. One's called Unnamed, one's called Talk of Monmouth Meeting. That was from 2018. Agenda 3 speakers. Blank. There's all kinds of options here. But in addition to this long list of the standard ones, we have some special agendas. And one of the things I wanted to draw to your attention, Joyce, I don't know if this is helpful or not, is in this list, we've created special agendas for special meetings. For example, if we have a contest, we have a special contest agenda. There was one listed here, contest agenda. Contest agenda, speech and evaluation. That's the one that's highlighted. Anybody have any idea why it would be important to have something like this? It's different than your entire meeting? Amy, you're here. Hi.
Hi. Well, a couple reasons. You don't want to have to redo that template again. Like, for example, if you're having an officers meeting, you want a template for that. Or if you think you're probably going to have a contest again. So the agenda is different than your typical agenda. So you want to set it up and have a template so you can use it again.
Exactly. And thank you. And I'm so grateful you're here. I was just talking to Michelle about you before the meeting started.
Oh boy, it's
All
not
good
true.
stuff.
None of it.
All good stuff. All good stuff.
Great. Yes.
So yes, we have our contest agenda. So this way, for example, in District 83, at one point, we had one for speech and evaluation. And this particular Toastmasters year, we had it for international speech and speech evaluation. I know here in District 38, we have different contests. But anyway, we have the agenda template. So this way, whoever the Toastmaster is, the contest chair, whoever's managing this, they just draw up the agenda template and then they map it to the particular date of the contest. This way, Donna, as the VPE, doesn't have to reinvent the wheel, and we know we haven't. Just if you need to tweak something in a very minor way, you can, or you could just use it as is. Another fun meeting type, many of you have been to them or facilitated them, or what we call a backwards meeting. Anybody here ever do or go to a backwards meeting? I went to one in one of the clubs up, it's an online club up in Jersey City, New Jersey. They had not only a terrific backwards meeting agenda template, but they also ran a script. So it was hilarious and lots of fun. So it's really good to have the backwards meeting template here in your toolkit, because this way you don't have to reinvent the wheel. The person who will be the Toastmaster knows how to run the meeting. It's a little twisted, but you have lots of fun with it. One of the best things about those backwards meetings is you provide fake evaluations for the speakers and everybody laughs. And then the speaker gets to maybe incorporate some of that feedback. And then if you're an evaluator, you give the person a real evaluation on their form after. So it counts towards their pathways. The other thing that we did here at Talk of Monmouth is we have debate meetings. Over the last 9.5, almost 10 years, we've had a few debate meetings. Donna, as VPE, isn't it easy to have a template for a debate meeting than having to redo it?
Oh, definitely.
And I know you've been instrumental in making sure that we all have a lot of fun and everybody moves along in their pathways progress. So when Donna helped facilitate the debate meetings, she made sure that we have good topics and that people are paired up in a way that makes sense and they can have a strong team. And Donna doesn't have to sweat, oh no, how am I going to make this agenda? It's there for her. And then speak outs. That's another fun kind of a meeting where you have speakers, evaluators. Each speaker evaluates another speaker. So Donna doesn't have to run around trying to find speakers and evaluators. If you're a speaker, you're an evaluator. And all you need is a timer and a Toastmaster. In one of the other clubs that Donna and I are in together, we're doing that next week. So this is where the list of agendas is. You can label them. In fact, we might go in here, Donna, and just rename some of them or get rid of the numbers of unnamed agenda template that maybe somebody saved that they didn't really want, but they forgot to get rid of. We could do a little cleanup and then we could keep the templates that we like. So Joyce, this would be the place, excuse me, where you would have your Tuesday template and your Saturday template. So it would be under the meeting agenda settings. And then the pane that you would go to is agenda template. And then once you're in the agendas, you can, excuse me, manipulate them. So
Yes, what I do is when I'm adding meeting dates, I'm copying the,
yes,
I'm in agendas, in the agenda screen, hit the add button, click
Right.
on one that's using the template I want, whether it's Saturday or Tuesday, and
Right.
edit it for the future dates.
Yes, copying the agenda template is the way to go. You could do it here or even in the main screen, there's a place where you could duplicate it. Excellent suggestion, Joyce. Thank you. Donna had a question about mentoring. She said, are you going to show us where we can assign the mentors? I said, I'm going to put this into my curriculum for tonight. So Donna, thank you. We have the names of the people over on the left, but I've blocked out the phone numbers because that's proprietary. So what we have here in the membership management pane, in the members panel, we have a tool. So you have all your members. You would choose a person. The topmost thing on the pop-up would show you select people. Sorry about that. You select people, and then you select a tool. So you would select people by choosing their name with the column on the far left. It would come up with a little place where you can check it or exit. And then from this long laundry list of things that you can do, the one that Donna was curious about is assign member mentor or mentors. So we choose a person and then go to this pane, and then there's another screen. So this is the place where you can make those pairs. Of course, other people have a spreadsheet aside from this, but this keeps it within FreeToastHost. Keeping a spreadsheet is good. You could do that in addition to this, but using this tool through FreeToastHost also helps you streamline the communications process. As long as the people are in the system, they've opted in to receive communication from you, this is the place where it can be captured. So after you choose your person and your mentor or mentees, in email and contact forms, on the far right, there's a tab that says mentoring form. And then you could choose from the drop down the role or the member to help with the matchup. And then this is selected, give this member access to assign mentor tool. So this way, this helps Donna with her job as Vice President Education and pairing up mentors and proteges. And then anything that Donna does between now and the end of the year, she'll have a conversation with the next VPE to let him or her know what's going on. I know I was nominated for that, so it might be me, but we never know. But it's also captured in here. And then whether it's Donna, whether it's somebody supporting Donna, whether it's the next VPE, you're building a history. And then these things can be changed in one spot and you don't have to worry about who has the spreadsheet, where is it? Questions so far?
Actually, I have a question.
Yes, Michelle.
With the agendas, you have all these different templates. Can you limit the people who can sign up, not sign up, but actually see that agenda?
Can you limit the people who see the agenda?
Right, let's say it's just for the officers and you don't want all the members to see it. Can you actually create it in FreeToastHost and set it so that only the officers can see it?
That's a good question. I've never needed to do that, but I'm sure if I poke around, there will be ways to see who can see and who cannot see which agendas and such. I could look that up. Restrict access to certain agendas.
Thanks. There are no other questions in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
See no hands raised.
Okay, thanks, Michelle. So
Oh,
next,
wait.
Wait,
Somebody just asked a question.
okay, we'll go back.
Donna asked how to reconcile agendas.
How to reconcile agendas. Ah, that's a good one. That's best done visually, but I'm not going to open up FreeToastHost now, but I can speak to it and then I can show you in real time after tonight's meeting another time. To reconcile an agenda, after the meeting's over, you would open up the meeting agenda. Actually, I'm going to go back to the way beginning and show you the little pieces where you can find what I'm going to call the pencil. Here we go. At the meeting agenda top, on the section here with the icons, second in from the right is the pencil. You would access the meeting reconciliation through the use of the pencil. This isn't going to work because this is just a screen snap, not the real FreeToastHost. But you would access it through the pencil. Once you select that, another screen pops up that indicates attendance. And the way you would reconcile the agenda would be through the attendance pane. Every member of the club is listed on the left, and then there are 3 choices for attendance. Maybe, yes, or no. Maybe is something that they might choose in advance if they're not sure if they're going to come. Yes is automatic if they have selected a role, and no is automatic if they've indicated right here, you could see underneath the blue icons, are you planning on attending this meeting or planning to attend this meeting? And you have a pop up or pop down with yes, no, or maybe. So the people who indicate maybe, it'll go in there. The people indicate no, it'll be no, and that prevents them from signing up for a role. And yes, if they've chosen yes, or it's yes by default, and if they've signed up for a role. So once you see the attendance pane after the meeting, you can then select and deselect the person's actual attendance. And then after the meeting, when you're all done, when you hit save, FreeToastHost prompts you, should this meeting agenda now be listed as reconciled? And you hit yes. And it gives you that option. So I hope that was helpful. And Donna, you and I can do a separate one-on-one with that exact procedure. So let's move down to mentoring, more about mentoring. Here's the place where you would assign the mentor for a member. So you would look to see who the mentee is, select the above members' mentors, and then you do the match with this screen. And then you save it and close it. Another really terrific part of FreeToastHost is the club email addresses. You have several choices where you can send communication to various groups. Michelle was asking about restricting access to certain agendas, but this gives you email addresses, members, then the club name at toastmastersclubs.org. This gives you the opportunity to send an email message to everyone in the club who has opted in. I love this one and I use it all the time. Another one is if you want to send an email just to the officers, you can do so with this email address. Again, hopefully all the officers have opted in and then you could just send one email. And it's mapped to the person who has that role this particular Toastmasters year based on information you enter in FreeToastHost. It's not mapped to Toastmasters International. So make sure it's accurate. And if anything changes over the course of the year and you have to reassign officers, make sure you reassign it both in Toastmasters International and here. There's various email aliases for individual club officers, and all the 7 officers are there. This comes in useful, and we have the people's names here. You could see the people. It's not a secret that these people have these roles. These are mapped to the person, but the public facing email would just say, for example, mine would be secretary dash, then the club number at toastmastersclubs.org. This would be useful if you want to put the role holder out there, but you don't want to necessarily put the person's personal email out there, or you don't want to say, if the person doesn't want their name out there, but you want the role out there. If you want to send something to the VPM, you could just say VPM at. One of the things our club did was we made up these custom bookmarks, and it was a promotional tool. So this way, anybody who stopped by our booth or our table got one of those custom bookmarks, because everybody reads, right, Amy? So this way you use your Toastmaster branded bookmark, but for more information, it's VPM. So the bookmarks that we created last year are still good for this year because it doesn't have a particular person's name attached to it. The other thing that you can do is have various lists for the various mentors, proteges, and then the list goes on for the various club email addresses. They're mapped to a person, but the public-facing information about that person isn't front and center. And it's good for evergreen items. As I said, I gave you the example of the bookmarks. From year to year, your flyers might change. Maybe, maybe not, but at least you have a way to communicate with the role holder. Next, contact us. There's various contact us email forms, contact forms, and in this particular pane, you get to choose who receives notifications if any guests or prospects want to find you using the contact form. So in this particular case, we have the president, the vice president membership, and the VPE. And you could select or not select if the member wants phone calls. Most people do not. Most people just want an email. And then there's a checkbox below to enable the email addresses. So this is another tool for your use. If you want people contacting you, I hope you do, because you want more members. Next up, dues management. This is good for the treasurer. I know many clubs have self-pay enabled through Toastmasters International, and they do not collect club dues. They allow members to just go up on the TI site, pay their dues, that's it. The treasurer doesn't have to micromanage them. But in some cases, they have not enabled it, or in some cases, they also have club dues. In this case, I've blocked out the treasurer's information using these ovals with the name of the person, their email, and their mailing address. But this would be the invoice settings. The treasurer would enter this information. And next, this is a preview of what the information would look like. And again, I've blocked out remit payment too. This is also good because when a person uses this tool, they then have this as their record of payment and for their invoice. And then there's a tool within FreeToastHost for dues management as a follow-up. If they didn't pay, here's the tools that you can use for the people who are treasurers. to make sure that people receive communication and get your dues in. It's almost the end of March. Hello, Amy has her hand up.
Can you customize that message?
The one previous?
The
Yes.
dues management, like what people get to remind them about dues.
Yes.
Okay.
Here we go. Here's information, custom message to insert. Approximately 1/3 up from the bottom. It says
Okay.
custom message to insert at the beginning of your notices, leave blank to use default. So yes, you may.
Okay. Thank you.
You're quite welcome. Thank you. That was an excellent question. Here, we have File Manager. File Manager is a very important tool. I like to use it. File Manager is one of the places where you can upload PDF files and other files. There is a, what does it say, 5 meg file size limit per file. But the things that we would upload to our site to keep here, they would not exceed that capacity. What I like to do, I'm the club secretary this year, is I upload it says Tom officers, that's shorthand for Talk of Monmouth, our meeting minutes. And I've restricted it to members only. With that drop down, you can choose members only, prospects, everybody, general population. And then if you do not need any of the files that you've uploaded over the past 10 years, you can discard them with the delete button on the far right. I think this is particularly good because this way, content that's uploaded here can be accessed through the left nav bar on your homepage. I like this section. What happens? Wait, go back. What happens if we're in a meeting? And of course I have everything in my archives, but what if I'm not at that meeting? And Donna has a question. What did we talk about, that open house that we we're planning? What did we decide? Do you have the minutes? Wait, Sue sent them out, but I can't find them. Wait, where are they? Donna can just go over to the left nav bar, click on File Manager, and download any of the meeting minutes from the officer meeting we just had. They're right here. So this is very handy. And it's not restricted to officer minutes. There are some sergeant at arm duties, moments of truth notes. Like, for example, we ran a moments of truth. What did we say? I forgot what we said. Donna, do you remember what we talked about 10 months ago? You don't have to worry. It's right there. What about when you have a changeover from one year to the next? What were your goals? Sure, they're in your club success plan, but they're here too, because you took the time to have a moments of truth. And more questions. We're almost at the end of the hour.
Do I have a question?
Nikki.
Nikki,
Yeah.
hi. I can't hear you too well, but go ahead.
So I have a question. The files that we would upload here on ToastHost, are they backed up?
Are
I
they
mean, are they backed up? Like,
backed up? Well, FreeToastHost is a server, so you can download them at any time.
right, I guess the thing is, if we put all the files here, instead of saving them on our personal intranet, let's say, then everybody can access them. So it would be a better place.
You can have them accessed by officers, by all the members.
Yeah, it's typically agendas, or the grammarian worksheet, or the
You can
GE.
upload those sheets to the file manager. You could also put them in subfolders and restrict access with the subfolders.
Okay, all right, this is good, because I didn't know we could do that. Thank you.
You're quite welcome. Any others?
I see nothing in the chat and no hands raised.
Okay. So another piece of the membership management. If you want to connect with your members, or if you want to place them somewhere else, say they didn't renew, you can move them to former members. Conversely, we're going to talk about former members or prospects. You can select them and move them back to the current membership list. Again, I blocked out the names and the phone numbers of our current members, but you, with your membership management, you can have access to their contact information. Prospects, maybe somebody visited your club and you would like to follow up with them, or somebody gave you a lead and you put their name and email address here. Maybe you want to invite them to another meeting. So you can place people's names in here. Also, if they were former members, you want to invite them back, or maybe you want to invite them to our 10th anniversary party coming up. Here would be a good place where you can access their information and reach out to them again. Some of their information might not be current, but at least you know you have them. And some people, believe it or not, this is a true story. Somebody actually was a former member, took a hiatus, and then came back and rejoined the club. So it was a nice win for us. And then website statistics. Joyce, I think at one point you asked, how can you tell if people are visiting your site? You may not have details and specifics, but you can get a hit counter. And here's where you can enable it or disable it. If you want to know how many people visited your site, and the hit counter would appear at the bottom of the home page. And then if you wanted to add tags, if you're super advanced and want to know more information, you can do that in this pane for website statistics. Next up, membership management settings. Who gets to get all this opt-in emails? You choose the roles if they want, if they're approved, they opted in, if they declined, and these people will get the information. Last questions? Amy?
Thank you. Well, when someone joins your club and they just never opt in, then they appear on that list with the strike through. I mean, I guess you can keep sending that opt in, but if they don't do so, they won't get the agenda. They won't get. Does that ever happen where people just say they don't get it, or?
You need to have a conversation with them prior
Okay.
to sending the first opt-in. Tell
All
them
right.
that they're going to
Yes.
get the email, and then encourage them to opt in.
Okay.
They don't have to, but if they don't opt in, they don't get any communication from the club. They can't get the agendas. They're not going to be able to sign up for things. It's basically getting their permission to send them information about the club that they joined. Joyce.
Hey, we've had a couple times where somebody said, oh, we didn't get the opt-in message.
You need to
And
reset.
after 30 days, they're deleted off of the system, and then you can resend the message. You can re-enter them and resend the message.
That is correct. Yes, but definitely have a conversation. Say, please opt in. If they don't, like Joyce said, they get taken off, then you have to re-enter them. But it's good to have a conversation up front so you keep the conversation going.
We do that, but I think there's sometimes they don't pay attention. So, and yes, sometimes it does go to their spam. That's true. So, yeah, thank you.
People need a little bit more nurturing than others.
The one
We'll
time
see.
I didn't, the one time I used the person's nickname in her member record, and I didn't know if that had any difference. So the second time I entered her long official name that matched what was on the Toastmasters International website. I don't know if that made the difference, but the second time around she found it, she opted in.
Sometimes you send things to people, they say they never get it, but it's really buried in their spam or trash or something, especially if people are working in corporate clubs. That's a whole other story. But anyway, today we covered these topics: navigating the site, how to explore the admin panel, tips for VPEs and other officers. And I'm going to leave you with this because we're at the top of the hour. For more information, you can take a screen snap of this. My email is here. And if you want to get in touch after to learn more about any of these topics we went over, there is information from FreeToastHost to register for support. There's a blog that has information and the support and development site. So thank you so much for joining us tonight on behalf of the Voice Fusion session. Thank you for your attendance and your active participation. I'd like to turn it back to Michelle to close us out and stop the recording.
Thank you, Sue, and thank you everyone for attending today. Make sure that you keep an eye out for future Voice Fusion sessions. You can find that on our district website. That's tmdistrict38.org, and you'll see a lot of information on our homepage